Well, welcome everyone back to another market update, the janky edition. I know the audio doesn't sound as good as it normally does, and that's just not the best look, but I cannot be at my other computer currently. So we are going to get back to regular stuff next week. If you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is to go to patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG, where you can access to this collection tracker, and all the data that you see in all these videos gets sent to a collection tracker that updates weekly, so you can see the value of your collection. And that's a great way to support the channel, but it's also a great perk. I think you'll get access to the Discord channel and events and stuff like that. It's a good time. I also love to highlight Mitch over at Midtown Merchant. Mitch has the best deals on singles. He's really lowering the barrier of entry for players in this game. So if you want to shop over there, use the promo code BeKind to save $5 off your order of $50 or more. And then you also get access to a 10% off discount code if you're a patron every month. So lastly, if you want to support the channel, use the affiliate link in the Discord or in the description of my videos for TCG Player. That does help the channel as well. So Hearts of Feyendale sitting, right at about $4.50. I love that TCG Player has added this kind of latest sales thing. It does make this a little bit easier. But box prices, let's talk about sealed prices. We're starting to see the market see like these local retailers and online retailers approaching like the $77 map pricing, even some going lower than that. As those stores sell out, I think we'll kind of even out at what's kind of around the $80 mark. But right now, you could probably pick it up cheaper if you're shopping around. eBay TCG Player are going to have it around the $75 to $80 range. If you do want to, I have boxes available for patrons at $79.99. They're $5 off at Cavdane's Market. But keep a lookout at other retailers because prices are low right now. So if you're looking to buy some sealed product, this does seem like the time to buy it. And if you look around, you can really get a deal. So we're going to use this $80 price point just because that's like what eBay is. So I'm trying to be consistent in where I pull the data from on the box prices just to get a good estimate over time. So let me turn off the music there for you. But as we go to the Fable, then the Heart of Feyendale is actually up this week. As you could see back when I was showing the TCG stuff, selling at $4.50 this week. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, there's one at $5.50. Last week on eBay, there's one that sold for $4.30, but we're up to $4.50 this week. And you can currently get one for $4.86 too. So the latest sold listing though is $4.50 on TCG Player. I am seeing these on Facebook as well. There's a lot that are moving really, really quickly in the like $400 range, but they're being snap bought. So yeah, and again, sorry, I just used the word a lot. I don't know if that would say there's a lot of them, but there's a few of them. So I'm going to use $4.50 because that's like the public sale price. And in addition, the other ones are being bought up really, really quick. So I think if you're a seller, you could easily get $4.50 out of it. I think if you're a buyer, you could maybe shop around and see if you can get lucky on one of those sales that disappears pretty quick. But looking at the legendaries, nothing is very different this week. We are down 2%. But it's pretty typical. Actually, Scab Skins is up, Scab Skin Leathers, but the rest of them are pretty much where they were at last week, with a few of them dropping $5 or $10. Again, as more product enters the market, stores are getting product and they're selling it to you for $75, $80, $90. And as a result, more people are opening boxes, and that's kind of what's happening, and the singles prices kind of dip down a little bit. So nothing huge, though, down 2%. Your average legendary is still sitting at around $160. So let's move on to the Majestic Rainbow Foils. I do want to say that this is certainly a player's market right now. Anything that is player-driven is up, and that's a great place for Unlimited to be. And you can see that by things like these Majestic Rainbow Foils still just not moving very much. You'll see the non-foils are moving a lot, but the Rainbow Foils just aren't moving. It just doesn't seem like players want the more expensive version of the card. They're looking for the cheapest version of the card. So the gap between foil and non-foil is getting smaller and smaller by the day. So no real huge changes. We're actually down 4%. Nothing massive. I guess Glint of Quicksilver is a pretty big change from 32 to 26. But other than that, it's pretty much significantly just the same prices as last week. So you're sitting at an average of $26.05 for your Rainbow Foil Majestics. And now let's look at the regular Majestics. And you can see the regular Majestics are, overall they're down a little bit, but some of the more played ones are actually up from a kind of a dip last week. So again, Enlightened Strike is going up $4. Tome of Vandal is up $2. Interesting to see some of those. Glint the Quicksilver is actually down quite a bit, but the rest of them are kind of holding the prices. But kind of where I was suggesting is being player driven right now is these Enlightened Strikes and Tome of Vandals that are more played. And they're, the generic cards going up suggests that players are really driving the market in these things. So Majestics are actually down 3%, average of $15. This is less of a percentage than last week, though. The percentage is more on the rainbow foils down from last week, but less this week on the non-foils. We did have a huge week 3 and 4 weeks ago, where prices were up significantly on the non-foils, and this was before the supply kind of got added into the market with more boxes. So that's what's happening again. Even though the supply is raised, the prices are actually kind of holding, which again is really interesting. All right, so let's go to the super rare rainbow foils. And on the rainbow foil side, man, we are up good. We were up 19% last week. We're up another 6% this week. Iron Song Determination holding its value here at $15. Kind of crazy. We'll talk about that again in a minute. Some other ones that are moving up are... nothing else is really moving up. Iron Song is... What caused this? Something had to cause this. Mugenshi Release is up. I wonder if that has to do with anything with the calling deck that performed really well for Classic Constructed. Other than that, not a huge change. Last week was a big change with that Iron Song Determination going from 7 to 15, and that's holding this week at 15. So your average rainbow foil super rare is sitting at $3.72. Looking at the regular super rares, Iron Song Determination is a really interesting card that is seeing a ton of play and a ton of movement right now. In the last couple weeks, last week TCG Player was at like the $10-$12 range, and eBay was at like the $8 to $7 range. But those have kind of evened out quite a bit, and so sold listings now on TCG Player at $13-$14, really driving the price up of this card. And that is why the super rares as a whole are up 17%. But here's an interesting tidbit. The non-foil is sitting at $13-$14, but the rainbow foil is only at $15. And this is what I'm saying. Some of these cards that are high played, the gap is getting really... We saw this with Command and Conquer with Arcane too. The gap is getting really small. And that's super interesting to me because the rainbow foils are much harder to pull. But it just tells me that like collectors aren't interested in Unlimited yet. In that this is player driven and players want the cheapest version of the card. And some players don't like rainbow foils either in their decks because these don't curl as bad as magic cards, but all foils curl if you don't treat them right. So all in all, 16% increase this week on the non-foil super rares. Looking at rares and commons, just remember I use TCG low on these. So we're actually up 14%. Sellers have raised their prices 14%. That's the opposite. These kind of go back and forth week to week. They kind of alternate week to week, which is baffling to me. But all in all, we are at an average of just about $1 per rainbow foil rare. And the non-rare rainbow foils, keep in mind, again, this is just TCG low. But on the non-foil side, we are up 2% as well. So interesting to see that those are up. I'm guessing that people just aren't buying. Some people aren't buying boxes, and they rather just buy the cards they need. And then this is a player's market, so a lot of those cards are selling. The common rainbow foils are actually up 6% for an average of 51 cents. So, all right, let's go ahead and look at the EV calculation then. In every box, you're going to get 42 rares. You're going to get 4 foil rares, 4 super rares, 1 foil super rare, 2 Majestics, and then 1 in every 4 boxes, you're going to get a foil Majestic. And 1 in every 4 boxes, you have a chance of getting a Legendary. And then 1 in 40 boxes has the chance of hitting a Fable. So that makes your 40 box average. If you're going to be opening 40 boxes on average, you'll sit at around $116.90. But if you're just going to open up 1 box, you want to take out your odds of hitting the Legendary, you want to take out your odds of hitting a Fable, you can really expect about $65 worth of cards in a box, which seems like a pretty good deal, and especially if you're able to get a case. Seems like a pretty good deal when boxes are $70, $80. seems like a good deal to me. So, all right, looking at the EV chart, let's compare that to last weekend. We are actually up 1% this week to that week. Is that number right? 1690. We are up 1%. Yeah, we are up 1% from last week, which is a great place to be for WTR Unlimited. Looking at the top 10 cards to move this week, the foil gaining cards was Forged for War. The rainbow foil is up 100%. Not really much, it's 20 cents. Reckless Swing is up 66%, and Mugenshi Release is up 42%. So 3 super rares there on that list moving up. The non-foil gainers, also super rares moving up, Sand Sketch Plan, Iron Song Determination, and Cranial Crush, all the top cards of that list. The cards that lost the most value, Crazy Brew Rainbow Foil lost 24%, Flint the Quicksilver lost 18%, and Blood Rush Bellow lost 11%. And then the non-foils are Steelblade Supremacy losing 18%, Remembrance losing 9%, and Lord of Wind losing 7%. Cool. Well, let's head on over to WTR Alpha and see how that's going. Spoiler alert, if you own a box right now, it's not doing good. We are down to 4,000 on the sealed box price. This is one of the ones that interests me in terms of how is the market doing. This is certainly one of the ones that interests me. I mean, we did have a huge spike, so there's not really anything, we had a huge spike. This is like the same prices that you're seeing that we saw in March, which, the game came out 2 years ago. So it's like, what did we all expect? But we are seeing significant losses in the last couple weeks. 27% this week, 8% last week, 14% the week before that, 7%, 5%, 1% before we saw the gains. But the gains were very, very rapid. The gains we went from 3,600 to just about $8,000 in 3 weeks, which is fast. It's really fast. So I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just looking at the numbers, but it does surprise me that we are this low. And on eBay, there's one that sold for 3,500, one that sold for 4,000. Here's why I chose the higher value this week. I do know of a private sale of a box that went for 8,800 Australian, which is 6,600 US dollars. So I don't know how much provenance is holding true. Like, in other words, you don't know the seller on eBay. So I don't know how much provenance is holding true. If that premium is because it was a Facebook sale with a pretty prominent member of the community. So I don't know if that holds any truth. I don't know how much truth that holds. I know it does hold some truth. But public sales at $4,000 suggests that that sealed boxes are just a little soft right now, or a lot soft, depending on your opinion. So we're down 27% to $4,000 right now this week. As we look onward to the Fable, there was a Heart of Fandel that was listed for 23,000 on Facebook. I believe that is still being worked out, a price point. The condition of it, I'm told, it's pretty good condition, but it's not going to be a 9.5. So this is where this gets really weird. Whenever you're talking about the prices of Heart of Fandel, it's like, where does this line up? Is it going to grade a 9.5? Is it going to grade a 9? And the buyer is basically taking the risk of grading the card. So I don't know what to do with that. I'm going to say that this is a raw copy that's in decently good condition. It's not scratched, it's not beat up, it's not whatever. So we'll call it 25,000 and see what happens next week as well. So that's down 17% this week. Looking at the Legendaries, no actual fully sold listings, but there are 2 prices that are put in green here that are lowered prices that are available, lower than the kind of last couple weeks have been. Both of these are on Facebook. Mask of Momentum for $5,000 and Spring Tunic for $8,000. So those are both available. There's not a ton of photos of them. I'm guessing they're in pretty good condition, but that's kind of where we are on things. That puts things down 7% for the Legendaries. Last week we did have that Scout Skin Leather sale. I've been looking these up on Facebook, not just sold listings. There's just nothing available, everyone. I mean, there's just not. This is where I start saying, the market's not collapsing unless people are selling cards and offering them for sale and no one's buying. That's what a collapsing market looks like. A collapsing market doesn't look like nobody's selling cards and one sells every 2 weeks, and it's just lower prices. So uh, definitely, in my opinion, not a collapsing market, especially on the legendary side. But we are going down, and the listings are being offered for lower prices. It's just dry. The buyers aren't super interested in buying, and the sellers aren't interested in selling at prices that are current prices. So again, it's a really interesting market, and that carries over to mostly the high end stuff. On the cold foil commons, we are seeing a lot of movement, and I really believe that the cold foil commons are a great way to see kind of where the market is in a set as a whole. So we are down 13%, which kind of falls in line with being down with the sealed product as well. And the reason I say that this is a great way to look at the market is because there's just so many more different cards. A cold foil common, there's just over 1,000 of each Hope Merchant's Hood or each Goliath Gauntlet. Whereas on the legendary, there's just over 800. So the number of each individual cold foil common is very closely connected to the legendaries. That being said, there are 12 cold foil commons, so there's just like a wider spread on the market, so you can kind of get a better snapshot of what the values of things are. So down 13% this week. Some of these were on Facebook, some of them were on eBay, some of them, I think only one of them was on TCG Player and sold listings. But Helm of Eisen's peaked to 300, Breaking Scales to 385, Refraction Bolters to 476, Heart and Crash Drop to 325, Goliath Gauntlet at 300, Snapdragon Scalers being offered for 725, and Iron Rot Legs for 240. So that puts things down 13%. Keep in mind that some of those sold listings, like an Iron Rot Legs, hadn't been sold since like 513 or 52. So some of that percentage is encapsulating the loss that has been happening and not just in the last week. So, all right, let's look over. Your average then is sitting at 375. Let's look at the Majestic Rainbow Foils. No major sold listings. Well, sorry, there is one major sold listing. But for the most part, these have not moved at all this week. Now, on eBay, on TCG Player, there was a Enlightened Strike that sold it was an LP Enlightened Strike, which it's like Flesh and Blood cards. A lot of people just label them LP because they're all kind of LP, but that did sell on TCG Player for $3,000. But because this isn't near mint, my tracker really tracks what it be considered a near mint, and because there's not pictures, it's hard for me to tell what that is. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it at 3,500. Keep it at $5,000 because $3,000 for an LP one that I can't see doesn't really tell me much. So I just wanted to share that sold listing for you if you are interested in that. All in all, then, no change on the Majestic Rainbow Foils. Your average is sitting at 871. Okay, going to the regular Majestics then, we are actually down 11%, which is a similar number that we've been down. Crippling Crush for 445, Steelblade Supremacy for 60. All right, Tome of Fandel is interesting. There was an eBay listing for 3 of them that sold at $60 each for the Tome of Fandel. But then there was also a TCG Player listing that sold for $130, which is much more closely in line with the price point. I think most people would kind of insta-buy a non-foil Tome of Fandel Alpha for $60. So insta-buys aren't really what we're going for. We're looking at like what is the market price, like what is the accepted market price. So $130, it seems like a significantly lower amount compared to the other ones' percentage losses. But that's kind of where we are in the market. So it's interesting to see that card particularly is soft this week, especially with those sold listings on eBay. I'm not sure how much that will affect the card moving forward, or if a lot of people will see it in the same way that I do. But we are seeing an average of almost $90 now for the non-foil Majestics from WTR. Looking at the super rares, quite a few of these sold. Actually, a lot of these sold on TCG Player this week. Interesting. It is an interesting market on TCG Player this week. Lots of them sold minus 5%. So the percentages are holding pretty true. Some of them up, some of them down. It'll be interesting to see. Like Forge for War is actually up. Cranial Crush is down. Showtime is down. I guess the majority of them are down compared to last week's prices. Like Reckless Swing at 225, 250 seems out of place to me based on the other prices, but none have entered the market at prices less than that. So it's kind of hard to say. Like I would not expect to sell a Reckless Swing for 250 right now. I mean that hasn't sold since April, right? But the market is suggesting more like $100 rainbow foil super rare. So just keep that in mind. Your average is sitting about 128.13, and that is down 5% from last week. Looking at the non-foil super rares, then we are down 13%. We were up last week 9%, which I remember saying was pretty interesting. We're down 13%. There was a Crazy Brew that sold for 15. Last Ditch Effort for 12, Iron Song Determination for 18, Singing Steel Blade for 25. You can see not a huge change in some of the other ones. Hurricane Technique for 20. Some of them are just pretty close to the way that they were. That's down 13% though this week. Okay, just keep in mind that on the rares and the commons, I just use TCG low, and then I try to take out any major outliers that are different, like majorly different from the prices the week before or something. We're just down 1% for an average of $38.59. Again, I don't expect that you'd be able to sell like a whole bulk, 50 of these for $39. If you put them on TCG Player, one at all of them on TCG Player, you might sell one of them a week for the next, month or 2 months or 3 months or however long you leave them up at these prices. But I don't see these moving like crazy. So if you're tracking your collection in the collection tracker, just keep that in mind before you go expecting somebody to pay $40 per rainbow foil rare if they're buying in bulk. Just keep that in mind. Looking at the rares then, your average on the rare side is sitting at $2.85. And remember, this is just TCG low too. These are taking quite a bit of time to sell at these prices. Common rainbow foils, all that same stuff holds true. And the common rainbow foils, though, that are currently listed on TCG Player are an average of $10.54, which is down 1%. And then the commons are still sitting at an average of around $1.75, but we'll take those out of the EV when we go to calculate it. So looking at an EV calculation, if you were to open 40 boxes of the set, your box average would be sitting at $3,276. But then again, like I said, we take out the non-foil commons because that does add a lot of value that would be hard to make up. So you'd be sitting more like $3,083.35. Of course, no one's going to open 40 boxes of WTR Alpha unless you're the Fabled Hunters, which puts your one box average more like $1,392. So let's track this 3,083 to see where we were compared to last week. We are down 10% compared to last week on the singles as a whole. Looking at the top 10 chart then, the top 10 cards to gain value in foil are Forged for War, the super rare, which is up 25%, and Pounding Gale, the super rare, which is up 6%, and nothing else is on the list. The non-foil gainers are Cranial Crush, super rare, that gained 11%, and Steelblade Supremacy, which is a Majestic, which gained 9%. Looking at the cards that lost the most value then, Cranial Crush, Rainbow Foil, is down 53%. Iron Rot Legs, Cold Foil, is down 46%, and Goliath Gauntlet is down 33%, which is tied with Helm of Eisen's Peak. And then that sealed box is kind of closely connected to that at 30% or 27%, down $1,500 from last week's prices. The non-foil losers are Last Ditch Effort, down 41%, Toma Fandel, down 40%, and Crippling Crush, down 39%. So there you have it. There is your WTR market update. Again, if you're interested in having all these prices kind of sent to your collection tracker and ability to track your own collection, head on over to KitchenTableTCG.com or patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG. There's a link at the other website as well, where you can get access to this collection tracker, and you are supporting the channel and content like this. It does take a long time to make these videos, so your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. And then make sure you're shopping over at Midtown Merchant. Patrons, remember, you get a 10% off discount code. So really, your Midtown Merchant, if you're buying any cards from there anyway, you're going to be paying for your Patreon just with that code. Thank you, Mitch, to giving us that. That's pretty awesome. And then if you're buying singles, you're going to buy them anyway on TCG Player. So use my affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does allow me to continue to do this stuff full time and provide videos for the community and all that thing. So thanks for listening to that little TED Talk. I hope you guys have a great day. And remember to be kind to the people around you.